This series continues to astound me with its execution, the superb pacing as far as I'm concerned, and the intricate inspection into the character dynamics and the attention to detail. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and this episode is no exception.灰と幻想のグリムガルepisode 7, mainly focusing on the group trying to break down the walls surrounding Mary's heart, having found out about her past, about how she blames herself and the weight that's on her heart for losing her former party and everything like that. They're trying to learn how to break through, how to communicate with her, and show her that they're there for her, create and forge this bond and have her be one of their true nakama. And I love the way that's handled in this episode. We're going to go into it. But on the other hand, just the base party themselves, even deepening their bonds, realizing the things that they hadn't prior, and growing both as individuals and in terms of a party, really, fostering this new synergy and, developing their battle prowess. And I love that about this episode and how it was handled and the pacing, as always. But let's dive into it. Pretty much going to go from beginning to end, scene by scene, because I really want to dive into some of the dialogue that we got this episode. And the one thing that I want to start off with, before anything else, is Hayashi and Shinohara's dialogue at the beginning of this episode. First of all, Shinohara, the leader of Orion, when he says to the rest of the group right before the opening, where he's basically like, hold on to the pain that you have in your hearts right now. Remember what it was like. Never forget those bonds that you had and cherish the ones that you still have right now. Because most people take it for granted and don't realize how important it really was until they lose these things. And I was just like, yo, this is the perfect driving point, continuing to, push the party forward, and especially Haruhiro, as he, starts to take on this leader role, and the catalyst of Manato's death has put him in, as he's starting to, learn to empathize more with people, put himself in everyone else's shoes, and really start to pay attention to detail as far as the party goes, and as far as friends' hearts and minds are concerned, so that they don't have a repeat of the tragedy that they already suffered. And I thought Shinohara's words were so apt for that. And then looking at Mary, which I definitely want to get into next, what Hayashi says after he finishes the backstory, where he's basically like, sometimes I think to myself, did I really bring Mary back with me? Sometimes I feel as though she left herself there, that she's been residing there, and what you see before you is an empty shell, void of these emotions, and not able to face the pain in her heart. And I'm just like, yo, especially coming off of, last week's episode and what I saw in Mary, basically her putting up this wall around her heart, this whole cold, callous facade and demeanor that she has is a sham. It's a lie to hide the truth behind her, which is that she's scared. She doesn't want to forge new bonds because she's scared of losing them and suffering that pain yet again. And on top of that, she's afraid of having any sort of interaction, having any input in anybody's life and influencing anything in any sort of way, because she truly 100% thinks that what happened with Deathspot was her fault. And she doesn't want to have to suffer the fact that anything that she has done causes her new, party members or anything to die in the future, which is why she's holding herself back from bonding with Haruhiro and the rest of the party. So those lines from Hayashi were amazing as well. But getting into it, the scene that I definitely loved the most with this episode was the scene where Haruhiro has the monologue about Manato, and you hear the rain in the background. It was just so visceral and moving. You could feel that kind of awkward and anxious air about it. And I definitely want to get into that, but before I get there, the scene before it is something I have to talk about. First of all, Shihoru, man, finally speaking up, telling everybody how she felt and how she perceived everybody else's feelings to be after the death of Manato, and how she wants to move forward and actually reach out and bond with Mary, and that's what she thinks that they should truly do and focus on. And just to hear Shihoru voicing her opinion like that and speaking up, I was just like, damn, you can see the character progression so vividly in this series, and that's what I really love about it. Even Ranta apologizing. And here's something I want to talk about Ranta for a second, because I know there's a lot of people that are like, fuck Ranta, he's an arrogant, cocky little prick, and everything he says is utter bullshit. No, and that's what I love about this, especially with Haruhiro's, new discerning eye and trying to empathize with everything. Ranta's like, when did you guys ever try and fully understand me? And yes, he can be an asshole. And just like Yume says, he says a bunch of unnecessary things that inadvertently are dismissive and hurt everybody's feelings. But ultimately, people see Ranta, they see this attitude, and they're completely dismissive of him as well. They don't know what's weighing on his heart. They don't know his true thoughts, and he's been carrying that weight around with him this whole time. So to see Haruhiro acknowledge that was awesome. At the same time, hearing him finally man up, hearing Ranta finally apologize for, first of all, having Shihoru have to speak up and say that in the first place. He was, visibly affected. You can see that in the attention to the character models, the facial expressions, the body movement, everything like that of what Yume was saying. And I do love how they sprinkled in the comedy there with Yume being like, oh, Ranta's apologizing? Oh, I guess it's going to rain tomorrow. I guess it's going to snow tomorrow. And Mogozo's little additions to that in the background. I was just like, okay, Mogozo's getting funnier and funnier as things go on. I fucking loving Mogozo's character. But that aside, to see that from Ranta was amazing. But getting back into that scene where Haruhiro basically tells Mary, and that you could feel it, dude. I love the sound, the rain, just kind of bringing out this kind of awkward tension that was there. And Mary straight away is just like, yo, if you guys are gonna kick me out of the party, just say so. And you can tell that that's the last thing that she wants, that she actually is starting to, have feelings and care about these individuals, even though she's holding herself back from it and still trying to pretend and put on this callous air. Seeing that was beautiful. And Haruhiro's whole dialogue, where he's basically acknowledging what the party did to Manato, how they never once imagined what it was like to be in his position, the weight that must have been on his shoulders, and how much he actually did for them, and the bond that they have, and how he treasures that, and them all speaking up at that moment and saying, we consider you an invaluable nakama as well. And to see that, you could see Mary visibly affected, the wall around her heart slowly starting to be chipped away at. And here's the thing. I love how it wasn't just an automatic shift nor a jump from that moment to where everything she starts to open up to them just like that, and they start to move on and grow. And no, it wasn't like that at all. You could see that the tension in that situation, the air kind of relaxed and the atmosphere was more calm. You see them walking back, the rain had stopped, you hear the gentle lull of the stream, the piano track in the background, which the music was fucking godly in this episode, as always. That no-name greatness, dude, but I'm gonna get to there in a second. But I love how when Haruhiro invites her to dinner, she's like, no, not yet. And I'm just like, damn, dude. And then the jump, I think that the jump into the montage, that's probably my only complaint with this episode, was too stark. It was too quick. The no-name greatness, and don't get me wrong, the BGM is fucking great. I love every single no-name insert song that we get. It's fucking awesome sauce. But the thing about it is, it was just like a smack in the face from the kind of somber air of the prior scenes that I was like, yo. But then getting into the montage and how it was extended, seeing Mary slowly start to bond with them, meeting them at the tavern and everything like that, and Haruhiro says something about her smile and how he has yet to see that. I think that moment where we finally see Mary able to smile again is when she's going to have fully opened up to the party and everything like that. So to see their growth and the bond with Mary starting to deepen, as well as their kind of synergy as a party starting to deepen as well, and them starting to recognize each other's feelings more, is amazing to me. But then in terms of their battle prowess, you see growth as well, dude. And you hear everybody during the montage at the tavern clowning them and calling them Goblin Slayers, as well as I love when Haruhiro is basically monologuing during, and he's like, goblins, because straight up, day after day on that heavy grind, dude, they're starting to learn everything to the point where Haruhiro is even like, I could even tell them apart at first. And I love that because I love how this series actually humanizes the monsters and the goblins and everything like that. But he's like, now I can tell, the difference between each individual one, whether they're male and female, and the comedy where Ranta was talking about the goblin harm and everything like that. And then he's like, Shihoru, I mean, not Shihoru. And he's like, Mary, who would you choose between us? And Mary just turns to Shihoru and Yume, and she's like, why would it? She's like, don't be embarrassed. I don't think it's how. He's like, why would I be? And doesn't even answer the question, just completely dismisses it. I'm like, oh my god, this is hilarious. And I love those little bits of comedy that kind of bring everything back to a little bit of a lighthearted air about it. But that aside, dude, finding out about each individual's increase in skills and them learning new abilities. You know, Haruhiro increasing his stealth abilities, Ranta with these new abilities to be able to avoid attacks and go in at the drop of a dime, Shihoru with the shadow magic, Yume increasing her archery skills and whatnot, Mogozo has this new shout, plus they've been focusing on getting his armor game up as well. You see them finally saving up enough money to have, you know, more casual clothes, Ranta has some armor. You see the growth as a party and how they're starting to go in. And I think it's going to culminate very soon, especially with this whole buildup of them being these masters of goblin slaying, that they're going to go in against the same fiendish, you know, crew of goblins that killed Manato. You see multiple times during this episode them scoping out these goblins that have the dagger that Haruhiro dropped. And almost, I love the scene where Yume stops him from going in, where he was about to lose his cool, and Yume stops him. Not just because I got to get a nice ass shot of Yume, but it's that OTP greatness, and I just love the whole dynamic between the two. But that aside, I feel as though it's going to culminate in a battle between those two groups before the party moves on from this whole goblin slaying thing and we start to see them branch out into more diverse quests. And the thing is, I have to steel my resolve for this because I still feel, even with Manato's death, fucked up shit can still happen, and I'm scared of that. I'm scared of that 100%. But moving on from that, the one last thing I want to mention is that mystery skill that Haruhiro had, where he was able to see these kinds of lines and find the exact point to cut to one-shot this goblin, dude. You see him slicing through this kind of trail, and I'm just like, yo, this is some RYOUGI SHIKI shit. Like, what is this, some special ability? Because he's like, I have to ask Barbara about this, and hopefully he does very soon, and we get to see Barbara Greatness again, because I've been missing her since episode 1. But I digress. I'm like, what is this RYOUGI SHIKI death line shit that Haruhiro has under his sleeve? And so I was very curious about that. But the episode is whole, and one last thing, the final scene, where Haruhiro is still kind of visualizing Manato, not able to 100% let go of him. And I think maybe his final words was him letting go. I don't think we're going to see many more of these Manato visions, even still. I mean, I love seeing Manato regardless. R.I.P. to the kid. It's still sad to me, because that final line, dude, where he reached up to the Red Moon, he's like, see you tomorrow, Manato. And I hope that's not any fucked up death flags being laid on the party right there with that line. But just Haruhiro's monologue at that end, where he's basically like, you know, I stopped counting how long we've actually been here. And he's like, I want to show you the party we've become as well, dude. I can't wait to see how everything unfolds and how things progress going forward. Love the setup, love the pacing of this episode, and seeing the bonds deepen between our characters and them starting to bring Mary into the fold was beautiful. So let me know your thoughts on this episode of Grimgar. I actually have the episode 6 review of Grimgar that I never released last week. I'm going to upload that after this, so look out for that as well if you want to go back and watch my thoughts on that. And I'm out. Peace.